What if Marvel's biggest problem isn't bad movies? What if it's that nothing feels important anymore? Avengers Doomsday isn't just another superhero movie. It's either the reset button or the beginning of the end. Welcome back to Catalyst Corner. I'm Evan.
I'm Jim.
We talk pop culture, fandoms, and the business behind them. Not all hype, not all hate, just honest takes. We run a small creative business, so we're not just fans, we're watching how the machine actually works. Let's get into the breakdown. So we're about 10 months out from Avengers Doomsday, and we're getting a lot of leaks.
Yep.
Is this movie... Well, before we get into that, I mean, ever since Avengers Endgame, you know, Marvel... Tony Stark isn't the only thing they lost, right?
Sure.
They've lost the gravity of their movies. They've lost a big chunk of the fan base. We're seeing multiverse fatigue. There's too many Disney Plus shows. There's not really a clear central threat. We have characters that are being introduced without any cohesion. And a lot of the consequences just don't stick.
Right.
So Doomsday, at least in my opinion, Doomsday has to make things matter again.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, is this how you save Marvel?
Well, I think that it depends. It depends on what the choices they make after Doomsday / Secret Wars happens, right? Ultimately, it's if this is to be a restart of the franchise, then it has the potential to survive. If this is just, you know, Deadpool and Wolverine, where it's an outlier and it goes right back to the formulaic way that they've been doing things, then that's all it's going to be, is an outlier, and Marvel will soon be dead after that.
So I agree. I don't think that. So it's kind of twofold, right? If Doomsday fails, I think we're done. If Doomsday succeeds, I think you have a lot of work to do after Doomsday to, you know, kind of bring people back into the fold. So it's not like this is a magic cure-all that they're going to be able to apply, because like you just said, if that was the case, then Deadpool and Wolverine would have reset the fan base, brought the people back in, and it didn't. People showed up for Deadpool and Wolverine and dipped out again.
Yep.
So they're running a very, you know, it's interesting because Disney is kind of in a flux right now where they have a change of leadership, and, you know, this is a bit, I think it's the only play, but it's a big gamble.
Sure. I mean, the good news for them is that next up on the docket is Spider-Man, and even though, you know, it's a Sony-produced film, it's still in the MCU.
Right.
It's their biggest character.
More than likely, it's going to be a win.
Right. So you're going to get to Doomsday on a win, right? There's going to be you can rejuvenate the fan base by a really good Spider-Man movie, and that potentially could bring people back for Doomsday, because there is interest in Doomsday. There definitely is interest, because people want to know what you're going to do, right?
Well, we wouldn't be getting the leaks that we're getting if people weren't interested.
Right. It's just, I think that everybody is, like, you know, unlike Star Wars where people just aren't invested, Marvel still has people like, you know, you can turn this ship around. It is possible. You just have a few tweaks, and it sounds like maybe we're going to get that. People have that curiosity, right? They're looking out of the corner of their eye. They're not back yet, but they're looking at it, and they're like, I can come back, maybe. Give me a little bit more. I'm there.
Yeah, I think it's a cautious sort of optimism. What I think is kind of interesting is, we've basically seen within the course of a 5-year span, all goodwill for superhero movies have basically deteriorated. And that's even through DC too.
Sure,
that's not
absolutely.
to say that DC is victim, is blameless in that. But I do see, and the people that I'm talking to are kind of cautiously circling Doomsday. There's a lot of interest. Clearly, there's going to be a lot of nostalgia. I mean, you bring back the Russo brothers. You're bringing back essentially everyone that mattered in the MCU. So, I think it's a a ray of light in an otherwise dark sort of time for the superhero genre.
Yeah, I think that I think that, well, put it to you this way, I don't think that Kevin Feige, because I don't feel that Kevin Feige has any creativity whatsoever. What I think Kevin Feige is hearing are the people around him kind of telling him, you really fucked this up. And
we'll give you the reins.
Yeah, we'll help you fix it, but you can't.
You have to listen.
Right, you have to listen, and you're gonna have to cede some of that, some of your power, because your ideas suck, and if you want this thing back on track, you really have to just be, you're gonna have your name on the big screen. Just step away.
Take your win.
Take the wins. You don't really have anything to do with it, but you'll pretend you do. And fine,
right,
whatever.
And no one's going to call you on that either.
Exactly.
So, before I get into the next part of this segment, I mean, obviously, through Phase 3, we kind of had Thanos as the overarching villain, right? And, from the get-go, at least from Avengers onward, right? He was teased as, Thanos is coming, and we built up to that point, and then ultimately we had Infinity War and Endgame, right?
But you had Loki, right? So you had a strong villain, and then you had the presence of a stronger one behind him,
right?
So you always had an actual. You had a threat and a bigger threat,
right? Right.
And now you have none of that.
Right. So then we get into Phase 4, Phase 5, Phase 6, and, the idea was going to be that Kang was going to be the villain. And I think the biggest missteps with Kang could have worked.
Sure.
But I think the biggest missteps with Kang were, you introduced him in a TV series, which is a foolish play.
Sure.
If he's going to be the cinematic universe villain, you introduce him at the end credits. You have him pop up, so at least the audience can say, okay, so this is the new bad guy that we have to get behind. You did a soft launch of Kang on the TV show, whether Loki was popular or not, and it was a popular show for its time.
Sure.
But it wasn't popular in the way that the movies were popular.
Yeah, exactly.
So you do a soft launch of Kang, which, again, for the majority of your fan base that isn't going to consume the TV shows, which I think was a misstep on their part. They really thought that the fans were in for all of it.
Yeah.
And the mistake of all that was, one, the fans are not in for the diehard fans will watch the TV show, so you better make them for the diehard fans, which they didn't do.
Which they didn't.
They made them for the general audience who wasn't and didn't tune in for the TV shows. And then you soft launch the new big bad on a TV show, which gives him less weight.
Which again, if the TV show was about him, then okay, it still would have been a soft launch. He was in an episode.
Right. it was right. It was a very soft launch for your new big bad of the phase, quote unquote. And then he didn't appear again for a while.
Right. And then you put him in an Ant-Man movie, of all things. Again, not saying the Ant-Man movies don't have their charm. It's just that this is the big bad of the universe. Ant-Man was the absolute wrong movie to fully introduce this new big bad. Like, you couldn't have picked a worse choice.
Right.
Maybe Captain Marvel would have been worse.
Right.
But that's about it.
But so that's the thing, is that so you fumbled your big bad for your new phase, and ultimately dropped the ball with that. And then obviously Jonathan Majors got into some legal trouble, so you have to let him go.
But that shouldn't have been a hindrance.
Well, if they hadn't dropped the ball, then you just replace the actor,
right? And that's what I'm saying.
But it was already on life support before that happened,
because you had a terrible launch and you didn't have anything written going forward. You really had no idea what you were going to do going forward. Because if you truly had a real solid pathway to where you were going, like going back to when Joss Whedon wrote you the pathway to get to Avengers, right? If you had that pathway and you had a solid launch of this character, yeah, you could have just replaced Jonathan Majors and kept it going, and no one would have blinked an eye. But it was so easy to pivot from Kang because no one gave a shit.
Right, because there was no weight to the character at all.
None whatsoever.
So now we're in what are we in, phase 6 now?
Yep.
Okay, so this is supposedly going to be the turning point, the reset, the reboot. And I think where Doom, obviously Doom is going to be the big bad for this.
Sure, for these two movies. I
was under the impression it was going to be Galactus, but obviously that's not the case.
No, he'll be back down the road at some point.
Sure, but I mean, I thought I figured they were going to do another extraterrestrial threat, but it seems like they're going with at least Doom for these two movies.
Right.
Now, having Robert Downey Jr. play Doom is a very dangerous decision, because if you're Doom can't be a joke.
No.
He can't be quirky.
No.
He can't be Tony Stark light.
He has to be the exact opposite of Tony Stark.
Right. He has to be... You can bring the intelligence there, but he's not a funny guy. He's not lighthearted. He's not quirky. He's not quippy. None of that. None of that. So what Marvel has to do is they have to give us a Doom that does not feel like Tony Stark 2.0. And I think that's going to really be the hinge on whether Doomsday is a success or a failure.
Yeah. And, again, it's a matter of, is this Victor Von Doom or is this Tony Stark, right? Meaning, there is talk that Robert Downey Jr. is only going to be Doom for these two movies, and then there will be someone else cast as Doom going forward. So is this a means to an end to get Tony Stark back? And this is really a variant of Tony Stark as Doom, right? But not Victor Von Doom. And then eventually we're going to get Victor Von Doom down the road with someone else. Or is this supposed to be actual Victor Von Doom, which in that case he has to be, like you just said, a polar opposite of Tony Stark completely.
Right, because I think ultimately, another interesting point is that the marketing really hasn't picked up for this at all yet.
No.
And we can get into that a little bit later, but I think honestly, people are, the expectation right now is that either we're getting a true Doom, in which case it can't be Tony Stark. And I would even argue that even if it is a variant of Tony Stark, I don't want a quippy
No. No. But if you're playing it a little bit lighter because there is a real Doom lurking, and so you have to differentiate the two. So the actual Doctor Doom is coming. So this one is a little bit lighter. I'm okay with that because this is just a Tony Stark variant, but he still has to be serious. He still has to be reminiscent of Doctor Doom.
He's supposed to be the threat
exactly.
for these next two movies. So I want to feel like he's a threat.
Right.
And we've seen shades of Tony get serious. In Civil War and everything,
sure.
There were moments. So it's not that that Downey can't do it.
Oh, he certainly can.
I think another thing that and I think this is going to be important. I think they need to pick a core team and stick with it.
Oh yes, most definitely.
I think it's something that they've been very wishy-washy about over Phase 4 and 5.
Well, but that goes back to the point of the characters have failed. And so they can't... not that they didn't want to, it's that they put out all these characters and they've all failed. And so you don't have the confidence in that core team anymore because you don't have the characters that anybody wants to make up that core team. So you have to reestablish who you want as that core team that the fans are actually going to accept as such.
And I think that's going to be tricky because, again, there's a lot of them are starting to age out.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that aren't maybe aged out are going to be looking for that payday.
Sure.
So, what do you do? Who do you pick for a core team? I mean, Spider-Man.
I think to be perfectly honest, I think you pivot away from it completely.
Well, who do you...
You go X-Men.
You focus solely on X-Men.
Solely on X-Men for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, but that's a lot of saturation of X-Men.
Yeah, but and I'm not saying exclusive, right? I'm not saying exclusive, but but I would put them more as the core, and I wouldn't do Avengers. You know what I mean? Like, you have all those other heroes.
You start to break out the X-Men and maybe do solo movies, things like that, and then ultimately what your Avenger-esque movie would be kind of like an X-Men movie.
I think that, ultimately, I would after Secret Wars, you're going into the mutant saga, right? So ultimately, my path is X-Men versus Avengers. That's what I'm going towards. I'm building towards X-Men versus Avengers.
That's the big one.
Right, that's the big one. So in the next 5 to 10 years, that's how I'm building it up. I'm building out the X-Men. I'm building out who the Avengers might be eventually down the road to form that core team.
So we're talking about a fully new set of actors playing the X-Men?
Yeah, well, to me personally, I think that with Secret Wars, I think 90% of the heroes should be new actors.
What that would give you the opportunity to do is really flesh out X-Men.
Right.
You could tell a Wolverine story. You could tell a Jean Grey story. You could tell maybe a Cyclops, and and really get us invested in those characters. Give us sort of a bookend of a X-Men team up sort of thing, and then ultimately further down the road, give us an X-Men versus Avengers.
Yeah, look, I don't necessarily want another Fantastic Four movie, but again, you're going to get one, right? So you're going to get another Fantastic Four movie. You're going to get another Doctor Strange movie. You're going to get another Thor movie. You're going to get all these other heroes, right? You're going to get another Black Panther movie, right? So again, and I truly believe that come Black Panther 3, there will be T'Challa. There's no doubt in my mind there will be a T'Challa.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't at least rumblings of it.
Right. And so I think what you do is I think that you start to go back and you have a new Iron Man, a new Captain America, a new Black Panther. I think you go back to the core heroes but they're new. They're new from different universes, right? With new younger actors playing them,
right? So
and then they have to reestablish themselves.
Right, it's a fresh coat of paint on already established heroes, and then you have to earn the audience's approval.
Yeah,
through your struggles.
Like I don't mind if you want to keep, like, say, Chris Hemsworth as Thor, right?
Sure, and you could have some anchor points.
And so Chris Hemsworth is now with a new Tony Stark and a new Steve Rogers that he doesn't know, that he has to learn to get to know and have that same friendship like he used to. But these are not the people he knows. These are new iterations of them. And that's what I think that Secret Wars can do for you, is allow you the ability to recast all these the mainline heroes with younger, fresher actors and establish them. At the same time, establish the X-Men and all the characters that you're going to put as part of the X-Men, and all of them are going to be redone. I don't want to see, like, again, if you want to, because I truly believe all the X-Men are dying in Doomsday. I truly believe the Fox X-Men are going to be dead.
That kind of brings me to the next point is, this is a real opportunity for them to do an emotional reset, because there's going to be, whether we like it or not, there's going to be multiverse shenanigans.
Sure,
right?
Of course there is.
In this. And a perfect example is No Way Home, right? People really liked No Way Home because there was an emotional heart to it. And Peter paid a price in No Way Home. And they tolerated the chaos because, there was that sort of price and sacrifice that Peter paid.
Right.
Right? Whether it was losing Aunt May, whether it was resetting so everyone forgets him so he's back to being a loner. I mean, the audience is willing to overlook some of the gimmicks as long as there's sort of that emotional reset. So I think the only true path forward for Doomsday is, there's going to have to be sacrifices where, and it, like you said, it is a good way to to shed the old guard, get rid of the X-Men, get rid of whoever's not coming back.
Right.
If it's Steve Rogers or if it's I don't know if they'll do Bruce Banner because he's in a weird spot right now. But
yeah, I mean he's in the new Spider-Man movie, right? And he may not be in anything. But here's the thing. I mean, look, I hate Mark Ruffalo with a passion. And I hate Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. But also look at Mark Ruffalo. He looks like an old man.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that shouldn't be your Bruce Banner going forward. And regardless of what you think of, of Mark Ruffalo or even Robert Downey Jr., they're too old for another 10 years.
Yeah, Downey's in his 60s.
Yeah. You can't, even like all the X-Men that you're bringing back, all the Fox X-Men, everybody is, 50s and 60s and above. Like, you can't, this has to be it. You have to use this as a way to say your fond farewell to everything that's been previously established and then move this thing forward with a fresh coat of paint, like you said, with all younger actors that can give you another 10 years.
Yeah, because look, this may be unpopular, but I don't want to see Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine forever.
I don't want to see Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine again, ever. Like, I just don't, because he's done it enough. And, like, I'm fine with him if...
Well, I mean, we're going to see him in Doomsday.
Right, but I'm saying, if Secret Wars is his finale and there's a new Wolverine after that, I'm fine. But I don't want to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine after Secret Wars. I don't ever want to see that again. We've seen enough of it. It's run its course. Now, like, I'm okay with, like, say, Ryan Reynolds remaining as Deadpool. I mean,
Well, he's just one of those beings that can kind of float in and
Right,
out.
but so again, there are some people that you can keep. Like, obviously, I would keep Tom Holland going for a while longer.
Yeah, I'd ride that out for a bit.
There are some people that I would definitely keep going, but there are some most definitely, like, Florence Pugh as Yelena, right? Not as popular as they wanted her to be, not as popular as some people online like to pretend she is, but she's okay.
Yeah, she'll work.
So you can have her going forward. Kate Bishop, she got some notoriety, right, in the Hawkeye series. I'm cool with retiring Jeremy Renner and going with her going forward for a while. Like, some of these established heroes that you have with the actors you have playing them, I'm okay bringing them forward.
Yeah,
but they have to be,
works.
but they can't be the central focus of it either.
Right. I don't think anyone is arguing for Hawkeye to be the leader of the Avengers.
No, definitely not.
And, just because they bring in Kate Bishop, that doesn't change that statement.
Right.
So, ultimately, I think the smart move is, realize that Ironheart failed, so obviously she's not going to be able to pick up the Tony Stark mantle. My thought is that, if Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doom for these two and it's going to be a variant, then we're going to get basically Nick Fury 2.0 through Tony Stark, right? I don't think we're going to get a new Tony Stark. I think it's going to be Nick Fury. Tony Stark is Nick Fury, honestly. I mean, which may work, it may not. I mean, you need someone pulling the strings behind the scenes. It won't require him to do as much work, and, even though he's getting up there, well, he's the leader now, right? Very, very akin to, like old Batman.
Sure.
Things like that. So, I mean, I think it's a possibility that we may not see someone fill Iron Man's shoes. But who do you get to lead it? I mean, is it X-Men? Is it Thor? Is it...
Well, I think you can... I mean, I think the problem... this goes back to the problem, right? Captain America is Steve Rogers, and Steve Rogers is Captain America, right? You are never going to get Sam Wilson ever to be recognized at that level.
No, people like Sam as Falcon.
So you need Steve Rogers, Captain America.
And that's a point I want to make, is nobody dislikes Sam Wilson.
No.
As Falcon.
Absolutely. Very popular.
But nobody likes Sam Wilson in the comics as Captain America.
No.
And nobody likes Sam Wilson as Captain America in the movie.
No. And it's proven, right? We have all the data we need. You can't argue the fact. You can argue it from an idiotic, stupid point of view. You can't argue it factually. So, with that being said, if you don't have to have Chris Evans come back as Captain America.
No, but you need
Steve Rogers to come back as Captain America and be the leader going forward.
Now, another thing I want to say about sort of this emotional reset that they're planning for at the end of Secret Wars is you don't just get to kill these characters off and walk away either, though. There has to be, going forward, some sense of loss.
Sure.
Because if you reset, if the movie ends and everything just resets, then you've told the audience nothing matters.
Sure.
So there has to be, that's sort of another thing I think was kind of missing through Phase 5, is that, after Endgame, you had Spider-Man, right? Mm-hmm. And you had sort of the weight of Tony Stark dying in Spider-Man, and then it's just we never acknowledge it again.
Yeah, and the problem with it is that the multiverse allows you to make everything that preceded it go away. That's the danger of the multiverse. The multiverse gives you the ability to kill somebody and then have that person be back the next day,
right.
just
There's
as a variant.
There's no weight in any of the sacrifice at that point.
There's none.
And I think that's sort of the danger that Doomsday is treading too, is that even if we do bring Tony Stark back, then like what was the point of sacrificing him in the first place?
Well, but see, that's the thing, right? The multiverse wasn't happening at the time that occurred, right? So we didn't know. So the weight of it at the time it happened was tremendous. Now, all of a sudden, when you come to find out, oh, by the way, there are an infinite number of Tony Starks that exist out there, you know, the one that happens to be of this universe made an ultimate sacrifice. But there are other Tony Starks out there that can come into this universe now and replace them. And that's the thing. So the weight of it was meaningful at the time, but then after that happened and you introduced the multiverse and what the multiverse is, all the weight of those things disappeared.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things that, you know, it's very hard to hit those emotional beats. Even in Spider-Man to a degree, when you have 3 Spider-Man on the screen. Because it's like, okay, so, I mean, if one dies, we can fill his shoes with another one pretty easily.
Right.
And, you know, the emotional beats are really what hold the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think ultimately... And this is the thing, is that throughout media, we've seen multiple properties pull this multiverse shit.
Sure.
And it does. It takes a lot of the emotionality out of losing characters, the danger of losing characters, the danger of long-term repercussions of things happening off the table. So, you know, my hope is that whatever they end up doing, one, it closes the multiverse for good.
It needs
for
that
good.
has to
like
happen.
That has to.
That's number one priority.
I'm very much not opposed to telling how DC does it with like Elsewhere stories. If you want to tell us a story from a different universe that's contained in its own universe, no problem. Well, because the beats will matter for that universe.
Well, so I mean, if you know, let's say in Secret Wars, right? Andrew Garfield is a part of it, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of Secret Wars, he goes back to his universe, and the multiverse gets closed off. And you want to do an Amazing Spider-Man 3 movie, he's going to be self-contained now in his universe, but the larger universe still exists. So he can talk about it. He can talk about all those other heroes,
right, and experiences,
but they're not going to be there. They can't come there at all. He's only going to deal with people that are in his specific. Now there could be, you know, he could be talking about, you know, whomever, a Doctor Doom, and a Doctor Doom could show up in his universe.
But it has to be his Doctor Doom.
Right, it's only his Doctor Doom.
Right. So I think the smart play would be to close the portal, right? So you can no longer travel between universes.
Right.
And then if you have an idea for a story that isn't going to work mainstream, tell it as a Universe B, tell it as a Universe C story, and keep it contained in that universe. Take your win, because it'll, you know, again, it's less complicated. The sacrifices and the dangers a lot more real, because it's not just, you can't just replace. That's one thing that I thought Deadpool and Wolverine highlighted with them going to the Bureau and having all the universes and trying to pull all of these, and it's like, I don't want that. I want the universe. Pick a universe and stick with it. And if you want to tell a story from another universe, cool. I'm still down for that, but tell it in its own universe so that the story beats have weight and matter.
Here's ultimately what I would want, right? I don't want Tony Stark to return.
Right.
I want his death to have mattered, and I don't want him replaced. What I want at the end of Secret Wars, I want the reveal that this Doctor Doom is in fact a variant of Tony Stark. And then I want Victor Von Doom to come in and kill him, and Tony Stark dies twice.
You just want the double gut punch.
Yeah, right. I want, because I think that if you want emotion, Tony Stark dying twice and never coming back.
Right, you thought you were going to get him back, and we've taken it away from you.
And he'll and the multiverse gets closed off by the new Doctor, the real Doctor Doom, and you're never getting a Tony Stark back. That to me would matter.
Yeah, that's a dark way to end Secret Wars, though.
Right, but now you have a reason to keep going forward, right? Now you have this big bad who is, at the end of that, he's bigger than Thanos, right? He's bigger threat.
Yeah, he took away Tony Stark, ultimately.
Right. And so now you've got a threat that you may not be able to handle. And then, like I said, add on to it, now you have all these mutants that are appearing that may not necessarily be on your side that you have to contend with. So now you have all these stories that you can tell to, like I said, ultimately lead to X-Men versus Avengers.
It's an interesting...
Yeah, I thought it out.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about the business of it all.
Sure.
So, as I stated a little earlier in the episode, I think it's very strange. So we're about 10 months out, right? And this is supposed to be the biggest, they're kind of dancing around it, but from what I'm hearing is like they're trying to tout this as big as Infinity War Endgame.
Sure.
And we're not seeing anything. I mean, there were a couple of teasers, and the teasers were nothing teasers. Like, oh, Steve Rogers is going to be back,
right? Like,
all right, great. The original announcement was a bunch of empty fucking chairs, and we haven't gotten anything. I mean, my assumption would be, probably either Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, maybe we'll see a teaser, or maybe Spider-Man will see a teaser, but
yeah,
you've got to start ramping up the marketing for this.
Yeah, I think they don't want to step on Spider-Man's toes, and I think that's probably why it's light right now, because they want to they don't want to overshadow that. We're not really getting
anything from Spider-Man either, and that's coming out in the summertime.
Right.
I mean, that's 4 months away?
Yeah, I think that'll start ramping up soon.
I would be surprised if we don't see anything in March.
Yeah, I would be very surprised. But I think that might be the strategy there, is they don't want to overshadow Spider-Man because they need that to be a big success. And they don't want anybody to be looking past it saying, you're not really putting much effort into Spider-Man, therefore, we're going to just wait for Doomsday. I think they really want everybody to come out for Spider-Man and hope that's reigniting the fan base, which, again, that's the only character that you have a real shot at doing that with.
The other thing is, from a marketing standpoint, is I think we need clear marketing, too. I think you need to tell us what is going on, because we're all sitting in the dark. We're getting leaks. Who knows if the leaks are true or not?
Right.
And we need clear marketing on what this is going to be. We need a defined villain.
Yes. Yeah.
I think if it's going to be a tonal shift, you need to address that as well. Hey, this is going to be a little darker.
Yep.
And ultimately, I think this is already, locked in. Less homework.
Yes.
There should be no homework to walk into this movie at this point, right?
No.
And if I'm smart, I'm playing this like our audience hasn't seen anything besides Endgame and the Spider-Man movies. Everything else, we're leaving it at the door. If you show up to Doomsday, it's just like walking out of Endgame and the year later we got Doomsday for you. So there needs to be less homework required, you know. And I don't know if Miss Marvel's going to show up in Doomsday. I assume she might.
Everybody that's a hero that's been established will show up.
And that's fine, but her part needs to be minimal. Because
very minimal.
If you give her, and I like the actress, and she seems like a nice person. Miss Marvel was not a critical success, but if you give her an important role, that requires the audience to have done homework.
Right. And I think that, if you give her a critical role, that also sends a message, not a message that you want. Because again, there's nothing that would necessitate her to have a critical role. So if you give her a critical role, it's just kind of pushing the same thing that you've been trying to do with this character for a very long time, through the video games, through comics, through these shows and movies. You're just putting a character in there that you want to promote, that you don't have an actual reason why she would have to have a critical role, because she wouldn't.
Well, it's twofold, right? It's that fact, and then it's also the fact that unless you watch 6 Disney Plus shows, you're going to have no fucking idea.
Sure, that too.
So I just hope that there's enough sense over at the House of Mouse to realize those 2 points and go, the reason the audience dipped off, we can't. We can't force homework on the audience because they're not going to do it.
Yes.
The other thing I think they need to get right with is this doesn't need to be... It's more important that this is a good movie that gets the audience back on board than it is a financial blowout.
Sure.
And so they need to get right. That needs to be the goal. The goal needs to be, we got to get the audience back in the seats, buying the toys, back on board with us before we start doing these blow. And I'm not saying it's not going to be. It'll do well over $1 billion. I don't know if it's going to do $2 billion like Endgame did.
Well, the problem is going to be how much this movie costs to make, and then what can it possibly make based upon how what the spend is, right? So that being said, it may not financially make money because of how much money you sunk into making this movie, but if it reignites the fan base and it's a massive success from the fans' point of view, even if financially it doesn't make money because just the ungodly amount of money you need to spend to make it, that would be okay. That's still a win, and everybody would look at it as still a win, except for
except for the bean counters.
Well, except for the bean counters, and except for the rage baiters, that will just just want to shit on everything anyway.
So that's the thing, is I think it's much more important for this to financially be mediocre, but in the cultural zeitgeist be a home run, than it is for this to be a financial blowout, and then in the cultural zeitgeist it's just mediocre.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you have to look at a long-term strategy with these movies, and if you can't get the audience back on board, you're just going to be looking at more Phase 4 and 5 going forward.
Yeah. Now, again, if the movie, financially slips a little, but there's a bunch of Doctor Dooms at Comic-Cons and little kids having Doctor Doom Halloween costumes, then you've won. Right. Because now
you're on the path to the ascent again.
Right, because now you're back in pop culture, where people are actually caring about your product. And right now they don't. They don't care about your product. They don't care about your characters.
Not to the levels of Endgame.
Right. So, you're always going to have people that are going to dress up as Spider-Man. Like that's a different thing. But you're not getting anybody that's the B and C tier characters. Like, you're not getting any of that.
I would even go further than that. I mean, so last year, we did the circuit of Comic Cons, and you don't see a lot of Iron Man. You don't see a lot of Thor.
No, you don't see Captain America. You don't see any of the mainline heroes. Not anymore. Not in a very long time, because they're not a part of, like you just said, they're not part of the zeitgeist anymore. But if you start seeing those characters come back into the pop culture zeitgeist again, then you're on the right track. You've hit the right nerve that you have something good going forward. But you can't Kevin Feige it and go back to doing what Kevin Feige wants to do. You gotta keep doing what the fans are asking for you to do.
Right. And to close this out, we don't root for franchises to fail. We don't.
Not at all.
Don't. We want them to evolve.
Especially not this one.
Right. We want it to evolve. Mm-hmm. And if Marvel wants to be on top of, again, Doomsday can't just be good. It has to matter.
Right.
All right. Let's hit off the cuff.
Okay.
You want to go first, or you want me to throw mine? All right. I think if things keep going the way that they're going, superhero movies are going to be akin to Westerns. Mm-hmm. So basically, in the 60s, right, Westerns were...
That's all you had.
They were what superhero movies are today, right? And I think that if things keep going the way they're going, you're going to see... I don't think superhero movies are going to go away.
No.
I just think they're going to be niche.
They'll be back to what they used to be, which is...
Well, maybe a little... Right.
You'll still get them, and there'll still be some good ones, but you're not going to get nearly what... You're not going to get even half of what you're currently getting.
Well, I think that's the path we're on right now.
I agree.
And that's not a path I want to be on.
No.
I'd like to see superhero movies sort of stay in, maybe not to the degree that they are, maybe back off a little bit. But
yeah.
I like superhero movies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I think that we have, again, if you want to just stick to go back to your A-listers, right? Because we're at the D and F level characters in Marvel.
We're past beating a dead horse at this point.
We got to go back to A-listers if it's going to continue to matter, for sure.
Yeah. So that's my off the cuff.
Okay.
I think if we stay on this path, superheroes movies are headed the way of the Western.
Yep.
What do you got?
Mine is, you cannot have any conversation on X that is of critical thinking whatsoever. When whatever the subject is, people take one side or the other. And if you try to talk kind of down the middle and try to give pros and cons, you cannot get to any engagement.
No, there's no public discourse on
it is
X.
It is strictly, I like it or I hate it. And the people that agree with you are going to agree with you, and the people that disagree are going to disagree. And even if you try to engage the people that disagree and give your point of view, there is no critical thinking. There is no, let me re-examine based upon what you just said, and we can have an actual adult conversation. It's nope, you're a fucking idiot. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Fuck off. And it's like, really? Like that's how you behave? Like, you can't have any differing opinion whatsoever? I
think a lot of that is mimicked from YouTube, though.
Sure.
A lot of it is mimicked from YouTube because there are certain YouTube creators that deal in rage bait, and whether something is good or not, they're going to shit on it. If it's against, like a perfect example, right, is I played that game at the beginning of last year, South of Midnight.
Yep, I remember. Yep.
That's made by a small studio. It was woman-led. Your main character's a black female. I thought it was a great fucking game, right?
Yep.
And a lot of the gaming YouTubers that do the rage bait stuff came on and said it's woke garbage. And it's like, but it's not woke garbage. You're playing as a female, trying to get her mom back. There wasn't a male character first that she's overtaken and is better than. This is an original character. They weren't shitting on men, like.
Yeah, but the thing is, but you make money off of being that person.
Right, I understand why they do it.
No. But what I'm saying is, these aren't those people.
Right, but it's just them. They consume that content, right? And then it just bleeds into their opinions on Twitter. I don't need to have a reason.
Right.
Why I watched the video. The guy said it sucks. I think it sucks. If you don't think it sucks, you're a fucking idiot.
Right, but I don't know, again, I don't know that what their opinions are genuine, or it's because this is how they've monetized themselves, right? And this is the character that they've created on YouTube, therefore they're going to continue down that path. But
I don't think most of the opinions are genuine, because again, I played the game, right?
But they get money for being who they are. These are just regular people that that if someone puts a post, and these are just not YouTubers, not making money. They're just regular everyday people who can't have any critical thinking whatsoever.
Well, think about it like this, though. These people are consuming that type of content, which is giving them observation bias of their opinion.
But you and I consume that content, and we don't fall into that trap.
That's why we do a podcast,
right? But you can, but that's how simple-minded these people have become. On both sides, because again, you could sit there and say, something is great, and you get all these people, and it's like, but it wasn't. Like, you can't just say something is great and it's not factually true. Like, you can sit there and say, I liked it, even though I know, but it's like, no, they don't want to hear that it's not great.
Everything is so polarized at this point.
Right. It's just incredible that you can't have a conversation where you want to have a give and take on the subject. You're gonna get hammered. Whatever side you fall on, you're gonna get hammered by the other side. Even if you want to try to engage the other side with, hey, I hear what you're saying, but let's talk. It's like, nope, there is none of that.
I think part of the problem is X was never designed to be that platform anyway.
Sure.
And they're trying to fit a square shape in a round hole with what they're turning it into. Mm-hmm. And so, that's the type of discourse that you're going to get on there, because it's, you've taken what X was originally designed to do, and back when it was Twitter, you could get news, you could get, short, it was just supposed to be short, quick blurbs, and now it's become this whole social media platform where people want to have opinions and stuff, but they don't actually want to have any discussion.
Right.
So X is not the place to be.
No, it is certainly
to be having those conversations.
If you want to have conversations about things of pop culture or whatever, I mean, I don't talk politically, but I mean, obviously it's the same thing there as well. But
it doesn't matter what the argument is.
It doesn't matter what the topic is. You just can't engage in any meaningful way.
All right, that's a good one.
Thanks.
Let's move on to the watch list. We rate these as see it, stream it, or skip it. What do you got?
Okay, so I went religious on this
religious
week. Yeah, so I watched The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe.
A chubby Russell Crowe.
Very. So I thought the movie was okay, and I thought the ending was weak. I thought it really fell off.
That's the one that ends in the basement or the dungeon or whatever.
Yeah. It was, so, but it wasn't a bad movie. It didn't do well. But I thought it was okay. I thought it wasn't. It was a little bit, not predictable per se, but I mean it was a little bit kind of far-fetched, but it wasn't too bad. I wouldn't recommend watching it, but if you do, you do. It's not terrible.
Is it a stream it or a skip it?
I mean, I would say skip it. The other one I saw is Conclave. And this is with...
Wow, you went real religious.
Yeah, I did. Conclave, I'm going to give an absolute skip it. I think the ending of this movie made this movie a pile of dog shit. I hated everything. Did you see this movie?
No, I'm not big on I'm not big on drama. Like, I like historical dramas, even if they lean into fiction, if they're, from a long time ago or whatever. I don't like these pseudo, like, historical dramas where it could happen type of thing. So, like, I don't buy into that shit because I just think it hits too close to home.
Yeah, they made the ending for the modern audience.
Well, that's the problem I have with it is that especially with something like a Conclave, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to play that out and play it out how it would happen in reality. Yeah, all right, I get it. Like you're just telling a hyper stylized sort of docudrama. Mm-hmm. But when you start making, that's why I don't watch those type of films, because when you start taking creative choices in something that happens to this day,
right,
you lose me.
Yeah, I mean this movie was somewhat interesting. Then the ending, the message punched you right in the face. And this movie, to me, is absolute garbage. I would skip this one.
It's long, too, right?
Yeah, it's like a little over 2 hours or something. So, yeah, I'd say both of them are skips. The Pope's Exorcist, this one, Conclave, I couldn't say anything more that this movie is...
So the Pope's Exorcist, stream it if you have nothing else to watch.
If there's nothing else.
Conclave,
skip.
Conclave, skip.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I only got one this week.
Okay.
I watched Send Help.
Okay.
Which is a 2026. They market it as a horror movie, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a horror movie.
Okay.
I would say it's more of a suspense.
Yeah.
Comedy.
Oh, this comedy. It certainly doesn't market it as comedy.
Yeah, there's some lighthearted moments in it. Okay. I would say stream it. I don't think I'd go to the theater. It's in the theaters now.
Right.
I don't think I would go to the theater to see it. I'd say give it a stream.
Okay.
I don't think Rachel McAdams is particularly funny, so the comedy was hit or miss for me.
Okay.
But she's a good actor.
Yeah.
And, basically the premise is she's working in corporate America for a shithead boss. She gets passed over for a promotion. And they end up taking her and a couple other people on a jet to a company trip. The jet goes down, and her and the boss end up on an island. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of goes from there. And I won't get into spoilers or anything, but it's rating out very high.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would probably give it. If I had to give it a number, I'd give it a 7.
Okay.
So it's not bad. It's not a bad watch by any means. Mm-hmm. I don't understand where they're getting 96.
Okay.
Or because it's not. It's just not that.
Sure.
But I would say stream it. I don't think I would pay $18 to go to the movies to go see that. But and don't. It's not horror. Like it's suspense at best.
Okay.
Not bad. Not revolutionary or anything. So yeah, that's what I got for the watch list.
Okay.
All right. So let's do the pulse. Well, the pulse is when we ask the audience a question. If Avengers Doomsday fails, is that it for Marvel as the dominant force? Let us know in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that wraps up this episode of The Corner.
Nice.
Jim, as always, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
What What do you got going on?
I got working on some pages. I have up on Webtoon. I have a web comic that I'd like to get into print at some point that we maybe can hand out at some cons. But comic by the name of Greetings from Seabrook. I got a couple of pages that I'm finishing up that will be out probably in a week or so.
Oh, looking forward to that. It's good. I like the premise you took
thanks.
with that. You guys know where we're at. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. It's one click for you, but it really helps us out.
Yep.
It really helps boost the message, and it lets corporate know that the little guys can actually do something.
Right.
We're going to be at New England Comic Con in Boxborough, Massachusetts on March 14th through the 16th. So if you're in the New England area and you want to come down and get some cool shit, head on down to that. It's a cheap con. They got the Galaxy Quest reunion coming up. So that should be a fun time. And let us know what you think about the Pulse. Is Avengers Doomsday fails? Is that the end for Marvel? All right. We'll catch you guys on the next one.